So, welcome back. It's a classic scenario, right? You pray for something, you want something to happen, and if it doesn't happen in a day or a week, we say, okay, fine, I want patience, but I want it now. It's very classic. Don't feel bad. Every Christian who's ever lived has had that happen to them. They want something and they want it now. Patience is such a hard thing to get. So, how do we do that? How do we have patience in an instant world? No one wants to wait. But God says that's one of the things He's building in us patience, one of the fruits of the Spirit. I want patience, and I'll try not to want it now. Let's see together how we can do that.
Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 through 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Verses about patience. James chapter 5, verses 7 to 8. Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. Behold, the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient over it, until it receives the early and late rain. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 20 to 21. For what glory is it if, when you sin, you patiently endure beating? But if, when you do well, you patiently endure suffering, this is commendable with God. For you were called to this, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. Galatians chapter 6, verses 9 to 10. Let's not be weary in doing good, for we will reap in due season if we don't give up. So then, as we have opportunity, let's do what is good toward all men, and especially toward those who are of the household of the faith. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 22 through 23. Let's draw near with a true heart in fullness of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience, and having our body washed with pure water. Let's hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. Matthew chapter 24, verses 12 through 13. Because iniquity will be multiplied, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end will be saved. Hebrews chapter 6, verses 11 to 12. We desire that each one of you may show the same diligence to the fullness of hope, even to the end. That you won't be sluggish, but imitators of those who through faith and perseverance inherited the promises. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 35 through 36. Therefore, don't throw away your boldness, which has a great reward. For you need endurance, so that, having done the will of God, you may receive the promise. Hebrews chapter 10, Verse 39. But we are not of those who shrink back to destruction, but of those who have faith to the saving of the soul. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you fall into various temptations, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Let endurance have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Romans chapter 5, verses 3 to 4. Not only this, but we also rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. Psalm chapter 37, verse 7. Rest in Yahweh and wait patiently for him. Don't fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who makes wicked plots happen. Psalm chapter 40, verse 1. I waited patiently for Yahweh. He turned to me and heard my cry. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 8. Better is the end of a thing than its beginning. The patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. Love is patient and is kind. Love doesn't envy. Love doesn't brag, is not proud. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 6. But if we are afflicted, it is for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you the patient enduring of the same sufferings, which we also suffer. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 14. We exhort you, brothers, admonish the disorderly, encourage the faint-hearted, support the weak, be patient toward all. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 24 through 25. The Lord's servant must not quarrel, but be gentle toward all, able to teach, patient. In gentleness, correcting those who oppose him. Perhaps God may give them repentance, leading to a full knowledge of the truth. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9. The Lord is not slow concerning his promise, as some count slowness, but he is patient with us, not wishing that anyone should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Revelation chapter 2, verse 19. I know your works, your love, faith, service, patient endurance, and that your last works are more than the first. May God add blessing to the reading of his word.
So what did we learn? I was really struck with this, that from James 5, 7 to 8, farmers waits for his crop, and it's also waiting for the coming of the Lord. You can't hurry through your crops. So I was really struck by this picture of, the green tea fields in South Korea, the Boseung Green Tea Fields. And this green tea field, it just took decades and decades for them to, cultivate the land and cultivate the green tea and make these beautiful green tea and green tea fields. They had to be incredibly patient with it. And it also says a lot about patience and suffering from 1 Peter 2 and Hebrews 10 and 2 Corinthians 1. This idea of being patient, the enduring of suffering. It's something will come out of this in some way. Yeah. And Romans 5 talks about the same thing, where it says, suffering leads to perseverance, and perseverance leads to proven character, and proven character leads to hope. That there's a reason this stuff is happening, and it really needs patience to go through it. It also says in Hebrews 10 how we need patience to do the will of God. Because a lot of times we don't know what the will of God is. So we need patience. And then finally it talks about being patient with people. 1 Thessalonians 5:14. Be patient with all, support the weak, be gentle, able to teach, being patient. In the famous 1 Corinthians 13, where it's talking about the love chapter, read a lot at weddings, but love is patient and kind. Love is patient. So you need to be patient with your spouse. And it also would continue on to your friends. Be patient with your friends and be kind. Ecclesiastes 7 puts it this way: the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. I'm patiently relying on God, whether I'm proudly relying on myself. Hmm. Good to be patiently waiting in God. Much easier said than done. So here we have our new modern expression: an eye for an eye, a tooth for tooth. This is your punishment matches the crime. This comes from Exodus chapter 21, verses 23 to 25. But if any harm follows, then you must take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, and bruise for bruise. So it's quite a lot longer than I ever imagined. So an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Your punishment matches the crime.